Thank you for watching. Coming back with another video for the first time probably ever on the Watch channel. I'd like to start out with a clip from The Devil Wears Prada. This movie is featuring Meryl Streep and Anne Hathaway. In this opening clip here, Anne Hathaway is working as an intern at a fashion company, and she's making fun of these people who are obsessing over this outfit because she's looking at these fashion items and they look identical to her. And the funny thing about this scene is that Meryl Streep essentially lets her know that the only reason why she's wearing what she's wearing, which in this case is a blue sweater, is because some designer many years ago used that color in one of their fashion lines, and it ended up trickling down through the fashion world, department stores, and eventually she picked this sweater up. And the point she's making here is that if it's not for the intricate details of people who are designed in things that you don't know about, then you wouldn't even have your own sense of fashion. Pause. This is very similar to watches because as I go around in the wild, if you're like me, the more you learn about watches, the more you start recognizing watches. And you tend to notice a lot of Invicta watches, specifically because it's a very popular brand. And one of the things I notice is that they tend to use a lot of designs from Rolex, which is actually very ironic because a lot of the people I've heard on YouTube and real life will make fun of people for spending thousands of dollars on Rolex, Breitling, or Mega, whatever. But at the same time, they have watches that look exactly like watches that were introduced from these companies. So in this video, what I like to do is start off with the king, Rolex. Now I want to just show you a couple examples of some famous Rolex watches and how Invicta has appropriated those designs for some of their watches in the Pro Diver series. So let's start off with the first one, the king of all watches, probably the Rolex Submariner. The Rolex Submariner watch came out in the 50s. It was the first watch with the integrated dive bezel. And as you can see here, next to it is the Invicta, I think this is the 8926. So this Submariner came out in the 1950s, and looking at these two side by side, it's pretty obvious where they got the design from. Now, some might say, well, wait. There's a lot of watches that look like this. Yes, that's true. However, that doesn't mean that Rolex didn't have it first. Keep that in mind. So you're looking at a design from the 1950s that they're using to sell a lot of watches even today. Coming up next, you have the Rolex Daytona. This is their chronograph they introduced in the 1960s. And this watch has been around. It's in ceramic bezel now, but to the right you can see one of Invicta watches that is pretty closely modeled after that. Next watch here is the Rolex Explorer 2. Now this watch came out in the 1970s. It was originally designed for cave explorers, so that if they're in an area without access to daylight, you could see what time of day it is, whether day or night. So one of the unique things about the Rolex Explorer 2 is the bezel with the imprinted 24-hour numbers, as well as the orange hand. I believe it's red now, but next to it is one of Invicta's models, and it's pretty obvious where the idea came from here. Last but not least, let's end with the Rolex Yacht Master 2. So this is one that they came out with in 2010. The original Yacht Master was out for a while, but they redesigned it in 2010. And one of the unique things is the blue bezel insert, ceramic. So let's look at these two side to side. There's no comparison. So the point I'm trying to make in this video is I want to educate you. Try to be aware of what it is you're wearing and where the idea comes from. It may turn out that you just have good taste, but just because you may not know where that watch design came from, a person who's good at watches will recognize that a mile away, or probably at least from across the room. So you may get people who strike up conversation with you. They may say, oh man, like, yeah, man, where'd you get that watch from? They're looking at it. It may be because they're wondering if it's a Submariner, or if it's a Daytona, or if it's a Yacht Master. The purpose of this channel is for education, so keep that in mind. Hope you found this useful.